Hello and welcome to a 1v1 game between Matiz and Don Artie. Here we are on Himeyama as we have Matiz spawning in on the left side with Chushi's Legacy with the color orange, and on the other side it is Don Artie playing as the Roos with the color purple. Now, neither of these civilizations are the quote-unquote popular kids on the block when it comes to civilization choices for this map. So I'm actually curious how these will perform over here. Usually we see civilizations like the Ayyubids, the Japanese, Jeanne d'Arc a lot. Not so much either of these civilizations. Maybe Chushi, but definitely not the Rus, to be honest. In fact, Rus is something I haven't really seen on the ranked ladder for quite some time, partly because a lot of the players have been experimenting with the new civilizations. Now, when you look at Chushi, one of the first things to note is that you do start with an Imperial Officer. So you can buff your mill right from the get-go. Whereas on the other side, of course, with the Rus, you just look at good old-fashioned stuff like collecting bounty. Now, one of the things that aids the Rus on this map is the predictability of deer spawns. It's fairly well predictable where the deers will spawn. You usually have 2 packs to the south of the pond and 2 packs to the north. They rarely spawn far in the corners. They rarely spawn, let's say, tucked away on this flank. They usually spawn in the middle of the field like this. And this makes it a little easier for the Rus player to essentially collect the bounty. And Matiz is actually bailing on this. Interesting choice. There's a wolf here as well. And Don Artie has gotten himself this pack of deer, this pack of deer, this one to the south as well. This one should be his as well, given that Matiz is only playing 1 scout. And then there is this wolf as well. Don Artie should be more than happy with all the bounty that he was able to collect. Nice little hunting cabin as well nearby. As a lumber camp is going to be dropped in this little forest. Now, one thing that's a little annoying for the Rus over here is that when you drop your Kremlin, it's going to buff the nearby lumber camps, of course. But when you have to relocate your lumberjacks so frequently far away from your base, that buff is not going to last very long. Obviously, you can expand your aura in various ways, including wooden fortresses, but the value that you're getting out of the Kremlin is a little lower on this map compared to what you would get from the Kremlin on, let's say, Dry Arabia. One thing that's nice for Don Artie, though, is that he's got his gold vein at the back, and it's interesting that this Kremlin has not been dropped over here. I'm not really a big fan of that, because this is meant to protect the gold mine as well, and that's not something that it accomplishes perfectly. I don't think it's a problem. Chinese don't really have a lot of like long-range archer-style units that can pick you off from a distance early game. If this was against English, or if this was against Malians with javelin throwers or longbows, this position would be problematic, as the opponents could just camp over here shutting down the gold mine. Meditation Gardens, interesting position here for Matiz. This is a rather disappointing Meditation Gardens, I must say. It's not like you had a lot of better options. This has, of course, food incorporated and wood as well. But that's basically all. No stone, no gold. You could argue for this place, for the wood and the gold. Maybe even right here, wood, gold, and stone. I don't think he can touch both of the stone and the gold with this. Regardless, a rather disappointing spot for this Meditation Gardens to be placed at. Now, with Jushi, one of the big things to look at is that they are quick to get to Song Dynasty so that they can leverage the discount on their buildings. And that's something that they often use to make a quick farm transition. And that sets them up very well when it comes to long-term food economy. In the meantime, Don Artie is just chilling. He's just now up to Feudal Age. He definitely didn't rush his age up here. Let's see if we're going to get a stable here. He's not on stone, so no second TC, at least for quite some time. Looks like he might be moving towards the hunt. So one thing that Don Artie is noticing here is that he could take the hunt because his opponent isn't contesting map control. Now, Song Dynasty isn't going to be on the menu for Matiz because he's playing the good old-fashioned Shaolin monk build. And he's just going to play for the relics. Makes you wonder what exactly these villagers are up to. Could they be... There's no way they're going for the boar. This must be a tower rush. I was so confused by these villagers walking all the way out here. But if this is for the boar, I am genuinely confused, and it... What are we doing here? I am completely stunned by this move. I just don't understand it. Now, as much as, of course, you could try playing food denial here, that's not so much of an issue for Jushi. They actually supervise their mill to get more food out of their sheep and berries. So these resources actually give him a lot more resources, or well, these resource deposits actually give him a lot more resources than normal civilizations get from it. There's a second pack of hunt to the south that could be taken as well. And most importantly, Jushi isn't very concerned about making an early farm transition. I just very much dislike... Okay, now that we have a proxy base, I am more of a fan. This is actually very reminiscent of an old-school Rus build. Those builds, however, have been focused on boars. Now, we could still see the boar being utilized here, but it's somewhat surprising that we only see 4 villagers here. This is why I got confused by this build altogether. If this was the old-school Rus boar-based aggression build, or even deer-based aggression build, it doesn't really matter, to be honest, you would be using 8 villagers here. You can garrison 8 villas in the tower, so if you want to maximize the efficiency of you having this hunt available, you want to have 8 villagers nearby. Now, the concept for Don Artie is very clear here. He wants to make sure that he contains these Shaolin monks inside the enemy base, and then prevents them from picking up the relics. He's actually going for the relic that's closest to the enemy base, just to make sure that the monk cannot pick it up. Now, Shaolin monks are deadly in melee, but one thing that they don't like fighting against is knights. Knights are armored, and they do have the charge damage as well, so they do a lot of damage on those monks already before the monk can even engage. Support them with archers, and the Shaolin monks will be very, very unhappy. Now, one thing that Matiz is doing over here is mixing in Lancers, though. And those Lancers are not something that Don Artie has a great response to. He does have the archers, he does have his own knights, but these are Castle Age units compared to his Feudal Age knights. Here comes the monk. Now, the monk has a very quick attack speed, so the melee armor of the knight is actually less relevant. You see, the melee armor is good when it comes to negating the effect of a low amount of high damage attacks. It's actually less effective when the attack rate is so quick, because with 15 base damage, but an attack every 0.75 seconds, 12 of those hit points or damage points still reach the knight, and then you see, one Shaolin monk traded off for a knight is a very good trade for Matiz. A Shaolin monk is 200 food, Matiz is spending 140, 100 for these knights, so that's more than satisfactory, I would say, for Matiz. Especially when you consider that he's also mixing in his Lancers. Again, Shaolin monks don't like fighting knights, but even knights will struggle against them one-on-one. Now, one thing that will prevent this relic from being picked up will be the archers. This is not something that Matiz can deal with only using Shaolin monks. So he should try snaking out, and that's exactly what he's doing. This is where the scouts from Don Artie will be very valuable. He does have vision on this, and now he's got a knight coming in. Don't forget, Shaolin monks can fight a lot here against these knights. So, at the end of the day, while this Shaolin monk likely gets picked off, this knight is going to be banked up very badly. In fact, with these Lancers arriving, this Shaolin monk might actually survive. Just goes to show why Shaolin monks are so powerful. It's like it's gonna be a little late to the party, and the Shaolin monk does survive. That 0.75 attack speed is monstrous, by the way. And this guy is self-healing. FYI. So that 0.75 attack speed makes the effective DPS of this unit immensely powerful. Preemptive Volo coming in here from Don Artie, or from Matiz actually. He's trying to buy a little time for this monk to get some extra health on. Knights from Don Artie will finish off the monk eventually. Don Artie is doing a good job building up the archer mass around here. He also has some spearmen mixed in, and it means that Matiz will struggle to clean this up, and credit where it's due, Don Artie has done a great job shutting down this expansion towards the relics from Matiz. One thing that would have been neat to see from Matiz is trying to do a massive sneak with a Shaolin monk, like going all the way through the edge of the map, picking this relic up, for instance. It would have taken a lot of time, but Don Artie is expecting you to pick up these 2 relics, So all of his attention is focused over there. Don't forget, Matiz can heal his knights or lancers. That's not so much the case for Don Artie. So one thing that should favor Matiz in these engagements should be long-term efficiency. Any damage that he takes can be healed back up. Not so much the case for Don Artie. Once again, fight unfolds here. Chukenu now taking the hilltop, getting some good hits on those spearmen, and the Shaolin Monk finally gets the first relic back. Now don't forget, access to food is very limited here for Matiz. He's been on berries for a long time, and that's not great for him. He does have the Meditation Gardens, though. Does get a little extra food income. But he needs some extra food secured, and his hunt has been taken away. First relic is in, however. And with so many Chukunu and Lancers coming out, he can actually secure the second one. Don Artie, he takes this board here. I love that move. If you have map control, use it. I would love to see a tower on this, though. Simply because I feel like if Matiz just sends a single Lancer around to probe this position, his opponent, Don Artie, would lose like 10 villagers. Not 10, but 7 with this distance to the TC would be at least like 5 or so villagers lost. Definitely not 10, because he doesn't even have that many around there. Don Artie is still in Feudal Age, but does have good eco upgrades. He does have the Lumberjacking bonus, does have Wheelbarrow. On the other side, not even a Wheelbarrow for Matiz. He's been very heavily invested into this expansion, and he kinda needs to be. Otherwise, he won't be able to secure those relics. He's gonna be on 2 relics now, but that's still okay-ish for Don Artie, given that the game has gone all the way to 12 minutes. I feel like for Matiz, the issue is now food. He does have a decent amount of gold, when it comes to the income at least. He does have 2 relics, does have a safe gold mine. But one thing he does not have is a lot of food. He's actually exclusively on berries, with no safe hunt to work with, and now his villagers will be exposed over here. He's sneaking out for a relic over here. You can actually see the path that he drew for this monk. But this game might not come down to gold. This game might come down to food. And if you're Don Artie, you're towering this position right now. By now, Don Artie knows that his opponent is having issues with food, and he actually has a legitimate win condition denying food here. His opponent is also heavily invested into Lancers, which are super food heavy. So he can actually slow down the enemy army build-up a lot more if he's able to continuously deny food. And that will become a thing very soon. These berries are near depleted. More villagers being pulled. Looks like the third relic is gonna be on its way back. So this is where Matiz needs to kind of fix his eco, so to say. He needs food. Lancers have been sent around. They actually didn't know about these villagers on the boar. There is a defensive tower now for Don Artie, so he's gonna be safe. And looks like villagers have been sent to the Shorefish as well. I love this move from Don Artie. Shorefish is extremely underrated on a map like this when you have map control. If you can take it, you should, because this is one of the fastest sources of food for villagers to gather from. And it's definitely something that's going to give an additional boost to the food income of Don Artie. And now Don Artie should know that his opponent is struggling for food. Desperate for food, he's heading out towards the hunt. The villagers have been intercepted. Don Artie rewarded with a bunch of kills. And it looks like this is going to be the mill that Matiz goes for. It's an interesting choice given that he has a lot safer of a food source down to the south. But he goes all the way out here, and this feels like an absolutely awful choice. I really don't get it. There is food here, but he really wants to take the food from the other side. He does have an army to fight a decent battle with, but I don't like him sacrificing this entire army for the food. But this is so awkward. He should know about this food here. And I just don't see a single reason as to why he's supposed to be taking this food. But I might be stupid here. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Isn't he supposed to take the other food source? Now he's forced to take a fight for his food deposit here. A lot of spears. These spears will take down most of the Lancers before the Chukunu can finish them off. Army numbers double for Don Artie. Mass spears, mass archers just overwhelming this force. And Matiz, he's gonna be cut off from food over here. I think this might be game, folks. Now, granted, he probably would have died even if he takes this food deposit, but to me, it's still so awkward that he went out to take food here. This is just an invitation for the disaster. The moment Don Artie see this position, he knew that he had to attack. Maybe Don Artie could have been a little bit more cautious if he sees this hunt being taken. But the fact that Matiz moved out for that exposed position was just screaming for counter-aggression from Don Artie. That's exactly what he went for. He dove in, saw his opponent his opponent lacking food, and he exploited that perfectly. A lovely way from Don Artie to use Feudal Age aggression to contain the expansion from Chushi. But really, this game did not come down to gold control, not even relic control. This game came down to food control, and that's something that Don Artie has played very, very well. Hopefully you've enjoyed this cast. If you did, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Those metrics help me greatly, and hopefully I will see you in the next cast. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.